We are live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome, everyone. How are you all doing?
How is everyone? How
Good
is everyone's Tuesday?
You stop that. You stop that.
Did you have an enjoyable day on Tuesday at work?
It is Saturday
This is in fact
afternoon.
Tuesday evening.
It is Saturday
Just like
afternoon,
what we
and we
said
have
in
the
the last
weekend ahead of
episode.
us. You shut your mouth, or I will RGB you into the Stone Age again. While I actually also just fix that slight black bar at the top of your window. There we go. Right, how is everyone? Chris Kingan, thank you very much for the $10 super chat at the start again. Much appreciated as always. Those bent LGA pins were the most horrifying thing you've ever seen. Yeah, same.
That was the worst I've ever seen it.
Yeah, that's the worst one I've seen that's sort of been by accident. Like, I'm sure there's someone who can find a worse picture, but that's when someone's actually just dug a screwdriver in there, kind of thing. But yeah.
Oh, it reminds me of a time when a friend came here to my house, was building their brand new computer here, and mashed the entire one side of their brand new Phenom processor.
Oh.
So we were here for a LAN party. There was a couple of us.
Yeah.
We were going to have a LAN party. Instead of a LAN party, we had about 4 hours of people with razors slowly straightening pins.
Oh.
It was a group effort. And it worked. Afterwards, it worked miraculously. We didn't snap a single one. But good God, 4 hours between 3 people. And we're just like, you owe us a lot of something.
Yeah.
We've no idea what, but you owe us a lot.
That's the thing, man, is whenever I do a video about straightening pins or something, everyone is just like sort of, oh, this is why PGA on AMD is better. And then someone else is just like, oh, yeah, but the CPU is more expensive. And it's just like, I still stand that because the pins on an AMD PGA are bigger and thicker, that A, they're harder to damage in the first place, and B, you've got more chance of being able to straighten them. But the motherboard is cheaper to replace than the CPU in the vast majority of cases. So, Caleb needs more volume. 1 sec, I will bump him up.
Though, that I have managed to slightly misalign a pin almost every time I've removed an AMD processor, and I don't know how I'm doing it.
No, neither do I. It's not a problem I ever experience.
No, exactly. So it's like, I'll pull it out and then I'll be like, oh my God, how did I do this? How? How are you bent? Stop that. So, yes.
Fair enough.
Let's not take that out of context.
Yeah. What did the owner say about the bent pin situation? Well, he was a little bit sheepish about it. And the thing is, like, oh man, I hope he's not reading those YouTube comments, because the YouTube comments section slaughtered him. And I should have put a note in the video saying, guys, be nice in the comments. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Guys, be nice in the comments. Because, yeah, sure, he mangled his LGA, but come on. How many of you guys have broken something in a really dumb way? You know, there's 2 possible answers to that. Is either A, you haven't because you don't do it often enough, or B, you're lying. Take your pick. You know. Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, everyone makes mistakes, and yeah, as I say, when I mentioned it, you know, I said bent pins, and he was just like, bent pins, and I was just like, yeah, it looks like the CPU was dropped, kind of thing, and he was just like, and you know, it was just like, there was an understanding there. I'm just like, I'm not going to rail on you about it, dude. It's just like, mistakes happen, you know. It's me, you know, me having a go at you or telling you off isn't going to unbend your LGA. The point is, you need a new motherboard. Let's get on with this, you know. So yeah, I would have liked to have kept the old one so I could try and do a socket replacement on it, but for those of you who are wondering about what happens to that motherboard next, it was purchased from Curry's PC World or whatever, so it's a case of, I try my luck. So yeah, that's what's happening to the old one. Spud Nugget with the tenner had some extra. Thank you very much, dude. Much appreciated. How's it going, Spud? So yes. Did he drop it Oh yeah. My guess, Noel, is that he. Let's see if I can. For the record, this is an AMD FX4, which is why I'm just sitting here scrubbing my fingers across a CPU. This is a potato that's just been flattened and compressed into a small square disc. Anyway, my guess is when you're fitting your Intel CPU is you're going there and you're going over the socket like this, and it goes and the bottom corner drops into the LGA, and you go and you go and you pick it out, and as you pick it out, you go in the bottom of the LGA
with precisely those sounds.
Yes, that's what I think happened, and it happens. The problem is and like if you're really lucky, you may only knock 1 or 2 pins out of alignment. And, I've got videos on my channel where I've straightened that out before. But I think that was just a bad situation where just picking it up did as much damage as dropping it did.
It's like the SATA connector on that hard drive. We were swapping the case on my computer, and I just somehow managed to snap the connector clean off.
That happens.
And it's just like, but...
Did we manage to fix that one? Because I know we did. I know we did the hot glue method. Yeah, because that's what you do. If you snap the connector off of a SATA hard drive, you just get all the pins, you bend them up slightly, you put a new SATA cable onto them, and then you glue gun everything in, and you never ever unplug that drive again, ever.
Yes.
So
unfortunately, the hot glue kind of came off the other day, so I had to redo it. But I've now redone it with special Poundland glitter glue.
See, when you said the word special, I thought you were going to say I've used a special epoxy that's specifically designed for ABS plastic. No, it's glitter glue from Poundland.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's now being bejazzled.
Big Clive would approve.
Absolutely. Very much just channeling the Big Clive in there.
Yeah.
And the hot gluing everything.
Tartar Adrian says, installing CPUs, it's nerve-wracking for you every time. The funny thing is, I think that's why people make the mistake, is you get so nervous that you get the jiggles going on and everything. And the thing is, you've just got to be calm and just go, in, done. And I think this is one of the reasons why now and then you get some smart ass who's just like, oh, even a child can do it. Just look at Linus Tech Tips when he does a build with one of his children. Man, kids have got confidence out the wazoo. Kids have rock solid confidence because they don't know what the penalty for failure is. They have no concept of that. So they're just like, yeah, CPU goes in the socket. Because they're not thinking this thing is worth several £100 and if I break it, I've got to go buy a new one. So yeah, that's the thing. It's those nerves that get you every time. So that's the trick. Is you've just got to. You've got to be cool. You've got to be cool about it. But
something about cucumbers.
As cool as a cucumber. Yeah.
Yes.
Messed up a 2K board doing the same. Oof. This is why after doing that video, I definitely want to get into doing socket repairs. Because like now and then in the Discord, in the bargains section, you see motherboards on eBay, mostly posted by Spud Nugget, that have got busted CPU sockets. And every time we look at them and we go, ooh, how much damage do you reckon that is? Do you reckon that's fixable? You want to chance your arm on it kind of thing. And because the issue is that if you could fix it, you could get a nice board on the cheap. But if you buy it and it's beyond repair, you've just got a lump of metal kind of thing. However, if I actually had the practice for putting new LGAs on motherboards, I could be buying those motherboards and going, yeah, I'll try and straighten out the pins. And if I can't straighten out the pins, I'll replace the socket. So it's definitely something I want to get into.
I also think possibly it's also a good pairing for kind of a bundle deal, effectively. So you take a CPU that's roughly matched to that and you just go, this CPU is never leaving this socket.
Yeah. And also there was another chap in the comments section of that video who said you can do a socket replacement without a board heater. He reckoned it can be done with hot air alone. And he said, you use your hot air and you just melt the damn thing off. The old one, you just melt that off into oblivion because who cares? It's a busted socket. And then he said, use solder paste to put the new one on because solder paste has a lower melting point and you can do it just with the hot air alone. And apparently it will flow into place. However, I replied to that comment and I said, do you use a stencil for that? Because I'm assuming if he's using solder paste, he's using a stencil to get the solder paste in the right place. But I need to check to see if he's replied to that to confirm whether he's using a stencil. However, that does sound interesting because, as I say, not needing... I mean, I still think a board heater is a good idea. But just a thought.
Yeah, and the big square nozzles.
Yes, I need to try and get some BGA rework nozzles. I did take delivery today some angled nozzles. So I've got angled nozzles for my hot air station now. But these are mainly just a quality of life convenience thing. It just means that instead of having to hold the hot air gun like this, you can now hold it at a nicer angle. So that's a quality of life thing. But I need to buy some more nozzles and get some nice big square BGA nozzles for doing that with. Demny BS, thank you very much for the $10, as always. How's it going? So, let's see. Right, anything else there? How much is a replacement socket? Replacement sockets, a couple of dollars from AliExpress. I think, I can't remember, $5, maybe $10 tops. I'm making up numbers now. Really not expensive. Really, really cheap. The socket is basically doesn't cost anything. Compared to the cost of the job and the equipment, the actual parts cost is negligible. However, that is from AliExpress, so obviously you've got to wait a couple of weeks for delivery on it. It's not something I would do for a customer that's waiting for their board, unless, like, if it had been a super exotic, like £700 or £1,000 board, where it's a case of, dude, this thing is really expensive, obviously waiting a month to get that board fixed, not a problem, because it's $1,000, you know. However, in this instance, it's an Asus tough board. It's just replace the board, you know. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I'd had all the equipment already, then I would have fixed it. However, I'm not going for this particular case. I said to him, I said, look, it's theoretically possible, but it's not a service that I'm going to provide ad hoc like this, you know.
Yeah.
You can send off that board for repair to someone else if you want. It's up to you, you know.
Are you able to get older sockets and stuff as well? Because it might be a case of, obviously, if you can get like AM3 sockets, because AM3 boards and AM3 processors are pretty cheap.
Oops, don't mind me, just turning up some volume.
I thought you just muted me. I don't want to listen to this fellow anymore.
No, it's just, could do, but who cares about AM3 though? Is there anything
exactly? That's the point.
Oh, so you're talking about practice boards? Yeah, I see practice boards. Yeah, that'd probably be worth doing. Practice on some AM3 stuff. Failing that, you know, could probably practice on some old, 1155 or something like that. You know, some old 4th gen Intel stuff. That would be a good place to practice because obviously I've got a 4th gen Intel CPU, although it's technically not a spare one, but.
Time for convenient upgrades to the workstation PC.
Yes. Hello, Paige. How's it going? Thoughts on laptops that use chipsets for memory instead of an SSD? Yes. Yeah, I was talking to Paige. He's referring to netbooks with eMMC.
Oh, no.
Yes, that's what I said when he started the conversation.
No. The answer is no.
Yeah.
Just no.
Yeah. For the unfortunately, Paige dropped me a message on Discord today with a picture of a laptop belonging to the parents, saying it just showed an empty 2.5-inch bay and the unpopulated SATA connector with no means of connecting a drive to it, and was like, "How do I put a drive in this?" I'm like, "You don't. Unfortunately, you don't, and it's garbage. It's bullcrap. It's horrendous." And unfortunately, and every year I think, is this the year that eMMC laptops die and go away and leave us forever because real SSDs are so cheap? It's like, No, they're still making them and they're still selling them. Thankfully, the 64 gigabyte ones are definitely becoming more common. I'm definitely seeing fewer of the 32 gigabyte ones, because the 32 gigabyte ones literally don't have enough space for Windows anymore. However, unfortunately,
they didn't when it started.
When Windows 10 was younger, you could do an install of Windows 10 on a 32 gig eMMC netbook, and you'd have, obviously, after formatting and stuff, you get about 28, 29 gigabytes, and you'd end up with about 10 gigabytes free. And so that was usable. 10 gigabytes of free space, that's enough to install Microsoft Office and store documents on the laptop. And you could say to the customer, you can't store anything, you can't store photos on this or music, but you can save your documents. And they're like, that's fine, I just do emails and letters. However, now it's at the point where with a clean install of Windows 10, fully patched, you will end up with about 3 or 4 gigabytes free. And then that'll instantly get gobbled up by Windows Update. And it'll just disappear in caches and stuff like that. So those laptops literally cannot properly operate anymore. It's horrendous. It's the big sad.
It's someone at work was complaining about the fact of they never had any storage on their phone and all of this and that and so on. They had 128 gig SD card in their phone already and 32 gigs of storage on the phone. They were genuinely using like 150 plus gigabytes of storage on their phone.
On their phone? With what?
Of just pictures and videos of their children.
Yeah.
That they had no backups of anywhere. No other copies, nothing else stored. They didn't own the desktop. They didn't own any other device. And I was just like, this is horrific.
Yeah. Like, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Apple iCloud, because of complications. However, in all fairness, at least with Apple iCloud, you can say to someone, look, pay your £2.50 a month, switch on iCloud Photo Library, and your pictures are safe. And it's just, that's it. Just that problem is solved, That's one thing at least, But yeah.
It was the fact that I then spent like 45 minutes de-messing the mess that they'd got their data into and then just dumping it all into Google Photos. I was just like, I'm so glad we have unnecessarily fast broadband.
Yes.
Upload 120 gigs of data to Google Drive in, a couple of minutes. But it's just like, it's backed up now. It's safe. You're done. Kind of. You just need to actually sort out this problem because this is an actual problem. But no.
I hate sorting out photo libraries and stuff like that. It's even worse when you're dealing with someone who's got multiple more than one photo library, and you have to merge 2 photo libraries together without duplicates. That is surprisingly difficult to do. I still
cheat now.
How do you cheat?
I just take both of them and upload to Google Photos.
Oh, well, and just let Google Photos sort it out.
Leave it for 10 minutes and then go download photo library.
Interesting.
Because
I need to test the effectiveness of that, but I think that seems like a good way to go. I've still got to sort out my own photo library.
Yeah.
My own photo library is still a mess on my laptop, and I still need to fix that because when I exported from iPhoto, when I stopped using a MacBook, it sorted all of my pictures out like so. Oh, no one's going to be able to read this. You see all these folders?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've told you this before, but I'll say it again for the chat. All of these folders are labelled from top to left, 1st of April 2006, 1st of August 2005, 1st of August 2008. You see the problem here? They picked the most mind-numbingly stupid folder naming scheme, which means there is no way of sorting those folders into chronological order. So, and because I've copied because I've copied all of them around, the modified date on them is all the same because I copied all of them from one drive to another. So now they all have the same modified date on them. So no, I can't just sort by modified either. And I'm just like, oh no. And like, there's a dozen ways of fixing this, and I'm sure everyone will be saying in the chat what they are now. But the point is, I need to actually go through and do one of those things, and it's horrendous.
Yeah. There's some
horrendous.
renaming programs and stuff. There's photo library management stuff.
Yeah, I think I can do it with Automator on macOS. So I just need to fire up my old MacBook, get them all onto the MacBook, and use, because Automator is a really underrated utility that's on all Macs, where it's basic. It's a macro program where you can just say, take all the files in this folder and add a sequence of numbers onto the end of all the file names. Or you can say, in this case, what I need to do is say, take all of these folders, detect the naming in them, and it will just auto-detect the date in them because it's intelligent, and change the date format to this date format, which can then be put into alphabetical order. That's what I need to do with it. It's just a matter of getting around to doing that.
To changing it into year, month, day, as opposed to day, month, year.
I'll just change it into Unix epochs or something like that.
Oh no. Oh no.
That's the only true timestamp, right? Oh, advanced renamer. I'm going to quickly Google that.
So each file is just named like plus 1,144.
Yeah. Ooh. Someone I just saw in the chat, advanced renamer, batch file renaming utility for Windows. That looks like it might be exactly what I need. I've left that open in a tab, and I shall take a look at it. Thanks for that, David Hostbo. How's that pronounced? Is it, when you have the O with the line through it, is that Hostbro or a host or a Hjost or?
I don't actually know. I'm not very good with the
Scandinavians. Yes. I think we're being about as offensive as this as it's possible to be at the moment.
However, it does allow me opportunities for my favourite little joke. Why do Swedish war vessels have barcodes on their bow?
I don't know.
So when they return to port, they can Scandinavian.
So last week we were talking about mice, and we were talking about computer mice. Oh, hang on a sec. I'll just quickly catch up on the chat before we go on to that topic. Let me see. 0 people who even look at old pictures they've taken. I don't look at mine very often, but I'm glad I've got them, because now and then I do look at them and I'm just like, oh, I remember that. I do reference them. However, I do agree, a lot of people are very worried about preserving a moment, considering they never actually look back at them. And I know that feel because I always take pictures when I go and see live bands. When I go to a music concert, I will always take pictures while I'm there. I never go back and look at those. But then on the other hand, just when I'm looking back at old pictures, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I remember that concert. That was amazing. So, I don't know.
I take a single picture at each event I go to, just so there is a picture with a date and the time and so on it in my Google Photos, and I can I went to that event at this time.
Yeah,
and purely
that jogs the memories, then, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of like a diary.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Noel Dowles, have you noticed how expensive laptop panels are? I haven't looked recently, but I know I know that they skyrocketed. Because I can't remember when it was, but some months ago, I know one of the regulars in the Discord was replacing a laptop panel, and they were just like, oh, the cheapest one I can find is €90. And I'm just like, hold on one moment, eBay. And I was like, oh my God, that's actually the best price. Good grief. What, like, a laptop, a basic bitch laptop LCD panel should be like £35, something like that. And I haven't looked in a while, but at one point they were genuinely about 70 or 80 quid. And it was like, what the hell? And then all the
Apple stuff where it was just like £700 for a display assembly.
Yeah, although actually the modern Apple stuff is coming down. The old ones are horrendous. If you got a 2013 to 2015 MacBook, you're screwed, basically. They are just not economic to fix at the moment. However, the modern stuff, like the Touch Bar ones, are surprisingly affordable right now. They're about 300 or 400 quid, which, considering the laptop that they come from, that's a very good price. You know, considering if you took it to Apple, they'd be asking for, I don't know, £600 or £700 to fix that. So, yeah. It's
sorry, that just reminded me of a story I told you about the person who damaged the screen in their 2019 top of the line MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
The cost of repair supposedly for the replacement screen was £3,000.
What?
They wanted £3,000 for the repair.
I don't. Yeah, that's nuts. That's crazy. That's kind of like I don't know if they've actually got their act together yet, but it's kind of like when the iMac Pro came out, and Linus Tech Tips were the one who broke this because they broke their one. I think it was LTT that broke their iMac, and Apple
the screen.
Yeah, the screen on it, and Apple literally said, "We cannot fix this." Wouldn't even quote. They literally said, "We cannot fix this," and it's like, what do you mean you can't fix it? You make the damn thing. Get a new panel. And they literally just, they went into Apple and said, "Here is a blank check. How much does it cost?" And they said, "We cannot fix this." And it's just like, and I don't know. Maybe they've got their act together now, but there are some things where it's just like, I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, it's it was LTT. Exactly. Yeah, I don't know if that's sorted out yet, but yeah, there are some of the Apple products where, for some reason or other, they just have no contingency for how to fix a broken one, and I don't understand why.
It makes absolutely no sense.
That's absolutely bizarre.
Given obviously that I don't fix laptops and stuff every day on things like that, but at the same time, when I find something that's broken, I try and fix it, kind of thing. So obviously, from the mentality of just like, now we're not even going to try and repair it at all as the manufacturer. I'm like, so what if a business customer comes to you and says, "I need warranty repair on this"? They just go, "Here's a new one."
Yeah.
Is that genuinely cheaper for you though?
Yeah. Well, at the very least, that's their strategy.
Have you made the device so inefficiently that just fully replacing the unit is cheaper than the labor it would take to stick a new screen on it?
That's definitely, that is at the least what their strategy is. Whether they then take the old ones, get them fixed, and sell them as refurb models, I don't know. Perhaps they, part of me wonders if they take the broken ones, send them off to be reconditioned, and then sell them as recon, because that way they've given the customer a brand new unit, so the customer can never complain that there was a problem with the repair, because they can say, "No, we gave you a new one." And then when you buy a recon computer, the customer is then buying it knowing that it has been repaired. So then there is then a disclaimer at that point. So I wonder if that's what their strategy is. The other possibility is that they don't fix them, and that leads back into just Apple's "we're really concerned about the environment, but not really" strategy. Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know.
So it's the case of, I know that when I worked at HTC, there were 3 classes of device. There was SKU grade, which meant made in the factory in China or Taiwan.
Yeah.
There was SKU. There was SKU, FIU, and FIUB.
Yeah.
Basically. There was SKU, which was the retail units, the stock keeping unit.
Yeah.
There's the FIU, which is the factory refurbished unit, which basically means in a repair center, there's a busted up device that has had the busted parts fixed on it to make a new, as good as new unit.
Yeah.
Then there's the secondary class of one, which is in the repair center, someone has taken all brand new parts for this device and built a brand new device from repair center parts, but brand new repair center parts. So it is as like an SKU, in that it has never been assembled as a device before, but it just wasn't made in the factory in China or Taiwan. And that's the 3 grades of device that there were for HTC at the time I was working for them.
Interesting. I suppose it makes sense for Apple to have something similar to that. Although the problem is that Apple have now got themselves the issue where they are potentially digging their own... Well, no, they have a solution, but I was about to say they're potentially digging their own grave even deeper, because in addition to all of this, we've got the problem with, especially on the iPhone, where literally every component of the iPhone can now be tied by serial number or some other detection system, so the phone can detect. So, like, for example, on a modern iPhone knows when the camera module has been changed out, presumably because it can check the serial number. And so that now means that when Apple want to fix that, not only do they have to fix that, but they have to fix it, and then they have to then run it on a machine that can program it and say, all of these parts that are fitted are now, as far as we're concerned, original parts for that phone. And I wonder to what extent that extends. Like, for example, if when these become part of the T2 system, like, how far can they go before the T2, before you can no longer swap parts? Because they have to consider the fact that such a machine, at one point or another, will be leaked. At some point or another, any machine that can reprogram the phone to say, you will now accept all of the parts that are connected, at some point that machine is going to get leaked. And if that machine can reprogram the T2 chip, that would compromise the security of the T2 chip. So
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Because obviously if you can simply add to the register, it says it has camera module A registered in the factory. You can add in camera module B as an authorized module, as an authorized camera module. It then, the device then talks to a secure enclave on the camera module and says, runs through the modification checks and then talks back. It could still do that. So it could still, even though you are writing to the T2 chip, you would in theory only be saying, this is another accepted device. Please add this to your please check it boot devices.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. So they could program in a solution to that. But yeah, this is the funny thing. I think the direction I'm going with this is that, in a way, as much as Apple is making it so difficult for independent people to fix their devices, is that they're also making it harder for their own factories to actually fix them. And so at that point, it does make you question if they're actually bothering to fix them. Because if you've made it so you have to go through that much hassle to fix the phone, is it even economical to refurb the phones the broken phones anymore? Because if it's cheaper for them to make a new phone, then they will just chuck out the broken phones that they have replaced. The only way, and that's the thing. And I do wonder if that's the point they're at, where if someone, you take your phone or your Apple device that's broken, you go into the Apple shop and you say, this needs to be replaced, here is my money, and they say, cool, here's a replacement device. At that point, if it's cheaper to build a new example of that device than it is to fix the broken one, then that one will go straight into the bin. And certainly if they have to jump through all of these hoops in order to fix their own device, they're just not going to fix it, and it goes straight into recycling. And I mean, I guess Apple do say that they recycle stuff, but I don't know to what efficiency that recycling really goes.
Indeed. And I'd say that we're certainly not at that point right now. It's it's a case of we're not going to be at that point now, because obviously the fact of you can still buy refurbished units off of their website and so on.
Well, I mean, most of those refurbished units, I believe, are just someone like I believe that a large amount of them can just simply was open box. So the device got sent to someone opened it and they said, I don't want this, and sent it back to Apple. That's now become a second-hand item. And so then Apple will then take that, put it in a new box, seal it all back up, but they now have to sell it as a refurbished unit. So a lot of those probably haven't been fixed as such. They're just second-hand.
A bit of both, probably.
Yeah.
But I feel that was it 21 states, 22 states, something like that in America, want to introduce right to repair bills this year, or have right to repair bills that are up for debate this year.
Yeah.
So
chat's talking a lot about right to repair at the moment, and
so it's a case of that might change things.
Yeah, I think we're getting there, because right to repair, that's been rumbling for a very long time now, and the issue with it is finding out is finding a form of right to repair that works for everyone. Because unfortunately, there have been plenty of instances where the right to repair bill has had problems in it, where it's just the wording of it is too vague to be effective because it could be easily circumvented or is not actually clear on to what extent a company has to go to provide assistance to independent repair places. But I certainly think at this point now, certainly by the sounds of the amount of momentum that right to repair now has, they're now at the point where they've got something that's actually viable now. And yeah, it does sound awesome. And I think it's also a problem because I think now the public as a whole are getting on board with right to repair, because I think the public are sick and tired of dropping their phones and then being told that's going to be £300 or £400 to fix the screen. And they're like, come again.
I think it's weirdly being brought on by the fact that people have less money.
Yeah, that as well, I think.
Because people have less money, because let's not get into that debate.
Yes.
Because people have less money, and...
Yes. Yeah, they
it's kind of like back in the late 50s, early 60s. You could go to a company and say, hi, can I have the schematic for this radio I bought from you because I need to repair it? And they'd go, sure, we'll post it to you. What's your address? And you'd get a full schematic with full component lists and everything.
Yeah.
Sure, not every single company did that, but it was expected that you'd be able to do that if you asked. Or if that didn't happen, it would just be printed in the guide.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, or just printed on the back of a machine.
I still feel like a lot of it is paranoia on the part of the manufacturers now, because the thing is that, like, in some of the right to repair stuff, there's the lobbyists, the industry lobbyists who are opposing the bill. They've all said words to the effect of, "Oh, you can't expect people to provide all of their industry secrets and all the rest of it." And it's just like, schematics and a board view are not enough to reverse engineer and reproduce a product. Like, for example, like if you started providing Gerber files and stuff like that, okay, that's getting a bit hectic now.
What's a Gerber file?
A Gerber file is the PCB design. So a Gerber file is the design that is used to produce the circuit board. When you look at a schematic or a board view, that doesn't tell you, like, a board view will tell you that this component is connected to this component over here and where it is on the board, but it doesn't show you the path that the traces take or anything like that. So
it just shows you a dead straight line.
That's right. So having schematics and a board view, that's not enough to reproduce the board. I mean, don't get me wrong; it takes you a long way there, but it's nothing that you couldn't. Yeah. It's nothing that you couldn't achieve with a lot of long nights and a multimeter in continuity mode. You given time, you can figure it out. So, and whereas the actual board layout, that's a very different kettle of fish. You don't need the Gerber files to repair something for the most part. I think that's going too far. And the Gerber files would allow you to create a knockoff of that device comically easily. So so that's the thing. Is like,
however, we're already at that point where that's already happening without those files being shared.
True, but at least it means that counterfeiters have to go through a lot more hassle in order to do
that. Absolutely. But I'm just kind of saying the argument they're making of, but my device security is kind of irrelevant when it's a case of it's already happening.
Yeah, you have to assume that it's already been compromised. Yeah.
So you kind of maybe just make it easier for people to repair it and not want to put the effort in. Make it easier for people to get stuff in alternative.
Yeah.
Alternative means.
Yeah.
So it's like it was. I can't remember exactly what I was looking at, but someone did some sort of grand analysis of computer game piracy.
Yeah.
And they said that it reduced substantial. There were substantial correlative effects on the ease of access for that game through legitimate means to the rate that it got pirated.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So if you could very easily just buy the game, £30, buy, click, install, play,
Yeah.
done. The rate of piracy was noticeably less than
Yeah.
game that said, you must install this launcher, you must now agree to this, you must install this, you must do this, you must do that.
Yeah.
So it was just a case of most people pirate because it's easier, not because they don't want to spend the money.
Yeah. So
and stuff like that. So if you make it easier to access the information,
certainly that would be the case for
less
parts. If Apple were selling, if Apple sold genuine iPhone screens as a component that you could purchase and with relative ease, you know, DIY fit yourself, like it was a module, undo some screws, screen comes out, disconnects, plug new one in, screw in again. I mean, obviously waterproofing, whatever. If it was that easy, Apple could then make a mint selling genuine screens, and everyone will be like, no, I want the original Apple screen because then I know it's going to be perfect and I'll pay a premium for it. You know, certainly
or just as it's done, or in a sense of as it's done now, you just buy the screen part and you just go, here is a screen part.
Yeah.
In the same way it's purchased currently, just from Apple at
whereas
50% markup and guaranteed to actually be original.
Yeah, whereas at the moment, because the manufacturer does not provide components at all, they're making zero money off of spare parts, and they are directly losing money. Well, they're losing money by people buying the parts from someone else who is making them. And it's like, well, you say you're losing money, but that's because you don't provide the service. If you provide the service, you could be getting money by selling the parts that you want other people to stop selling. Yeah. And you could easily undermine their entire business by providing a better service.
Yeah, even if it was internet order only. You can't go into a store and buy it. You know, you can only buy it from a special version of a website and stuff like that. I don't.
Got to go to the tradesman's entrance.
Yeah, the people who care, the people who are already doing device repair will be like, cool, now I have an official source. I can guarantee that you will not be able to tell the difference between these two screens in your phone.
I certainly know that when I was doing phone repair, because I used to do phone repair back in the days, I stopped doing phone repair when the iPhone 5 was the current one. So when was that? 2015? Something like that?
Roughly.
Yeah.
I mean, based on the fact that we're on the iPhone 12.
Yeah, must have been 5 years ago now. It was the last time I was doing it. I stopped doing it when it got difficult, basically. And at that point, certainly, I was having one of the primary motivators for me to stop doing phone repair was the spare parts, all the stuff that you could buy on eBay. The quality of the parts just went into the ground. You know, when I started doing it, I was making a mint replacing Apple iPhone 3GS and iPhone 4 and 4S displays, because you could buy the display on eBay for like £10 or £20 a pop, fix the phone, charge the customer 60 quid, and you could do the whole thing. You know, when you got it down to an art, you were done in 15 minutes, and I was making a killing doing that. But then the issue is that as time went by, at first it was, you know, every 1 in 10 screens you'd plug it in and the screen wouldn't work. And then it was every 3 in 10 screens. And then it was every other screen. And then the time when I stopped was after I bought a box of 10 iPhone 4S screens, and I think one of them worked. And the other 9 of them were DOA in the box. And I sent a message to the seller and I said, these are all broken, they don't work. And I said, I don't care about the money. I don't want a refund. Do you have good ones? Where are the good ones? Where are the premium ones? I'll pay more. Where are the good screens? Find them for me and I will buy them from you. And the reply I got from that message was, we test every screen before we send it. You don't, though, because I've got 9 screens and a box of 10 that don't work. You know. So that's why I stopped fixing phones. And that's the thing. If there had been an Apple shop that I could have gone to and bought legit screens for twice the price that I was paying for the eBay screens, I'd have done that in the blink of an eye. No problem whatsoever. I'd have done it with a smile on my face, because I could have told the customer, yeah, that's a genuine Apple screen I fitted to your phone. Yeah. But you can't buy them. So, yeah. Let's see. Demny BS.
But anyway.
Yeah. Demny BS. Hey Graham, can you find out what MOSFETs are behind the capacitors for VCore on an ASRock Pro 3M AM3 Plus motherboard? Ooh, there's no markings on them. I wouldn't know. Because finding schematics for ATX motherboards really tough, because there's not much of a repair scene for ATX motherboards, to my knowledge. So therefore, schematics are really tough to find for those, I think. Are you absolutely sure there's no markings on those MOSFETs? You might need to take a closer look and I don't know any tricks, but if you Google search for reveal chip markings or something like that, there are loads of, I think there are little tricks out there, like if you rub just a little bit of toothpaste across the top of the chip, it will highlight laser etched markings and things like that. Don't take my word on the toothpaste idea. It's just like, it's one of these household life hack things, like a bit of thermal paste or clean it. Cleaning it with alcohol doesn't seem to help if my memory serves me, but there are some cleaning agents where if you rub it down and wipe it down, it will help make the markings clearer to see. Something along those lines. That's the best I can give you on that one, I'm afraid. Tries throwing the CEOs into space. Yes, agreed with that. Let's see.
You were going to talk about your new hamster.
Repairs. Yeah, I think we're going to go on to the hamster. Yeah, UV torch works sometimes. That's a good shout from Mikey P. UV torch.
I absolutely need to get my hands on a real UV light.
Big same, because I don't have one of those. I mean, I'm sure I could buy... for the purposes of this, probably just getting a cheap one on eBay with just a UV LED in it would probably give you something that's good enough. But it would be interesting to get an actual proper UVC torch for highlighting stuff. It can't be that hard to find a half decent UVC torch. Even if it's like even if you use like a fake banknote detector torch, because that will be a fluorescent tube lamp, which will give you proper UVC. Sorry, I was saying UVC. I meant UVA. UVC is the death beam. You don't want UVC. Don't buy UVC torches.
I was kind of sitting there going like, what are you?
I meant UVA.
I was waiting for you to finish before I was like, there's a point that you're getting to at some point that makes sense why you're trying to build a death ray.
I wasn't doing a bit. I wasn't making a joke. I didn't mean the death ray. I meant UVA. So the one that, I
was just like, what death rays? Okay.
Yeah.
Death rays for banknotes. What are you saying? Are you saying
UVC
anyone
is the angry light? Yeah.
Anyone who tries to pay with cash, you're now just going to burn them and scar them horrifically? Considering you don't have a working card machine, that's a bit like shooting yourself in the foot.
Anyway, fraudulent banknote detector, that will have a fluorescent tube UV light in it, which will be more effective than UV LEDs. Because while UV LEDs, obviously they do exist, but good ones are extremely expensive, whereas even a basic bitch UVA fluorescent tube, just a little compact thing, that will belt out a lot of UV light, which will be effective, which is the operative thing here. So we got to be careful about COVID, but that's a step too far. Yeah.
You come near me and I'll unleash my death rays.
Yeah, £6 on eBay. Well, I mean,
guarantee that's fake.
For a UVA one. Yeah. I mean, UV LEDs, they are a thing. It's just the thing is, just most of the light they produce is in the visible spectrum. Although that much being said, for what we're trying to do, considering we want this as a highlighter torch, so I'm just retying my shoelaces because they're annoying me. Because we're looking for a highlighter torch, the cheap ones are probably good enough for purpose, really. Yeah, I should buy one and just try it out and just see if it's good for anything. Just buy a cheap UV torch and just shine it at some chips and just see how effective it is. I'm going to do that. eBay.co.uk.
eBay. Just eBay.
eBay. UV torch. I will leave that open for later as well. Anyway, hamsters, rodents, mice. So last Tuesday we were talking about mice, and we were talking about the Logitech. Was it the G603 and the G305,
wasn't it?
Yeah, G603 and the G305, I think. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I bought the G603. I purchased one for about £54. I'm kind of disappointed. And this is why kind of why I wanted to talk about it. Loads of people have said that Logitech stuff is not as good as it used to be. And now, firstly, it tracks really nicely. When I was playing Minecraft with it last night, and the tracking was lovely. Maybe it's just because it was a new mouse; it had brand new skates on the bottom of it, so it was just moving on the mouse mat really nice. The tracking felt lovely, but the actual build quality of it and the materials, I just like really cheap scratchy plastic, like this kind of. Oh heck! I've just pressed F12 on the wrong keyboard. Hold on. Okay, right. Hopefully I didn't just break the thing. Right, there we go. I've broken you. Hold on, let me get you back. You're frozen with a slight smirk. There we go. Right. Okay, you're back. Right, there we go. Where was I? So, you see this kind of plastic here. If I get it in the light, so you know that sort of scratchy matte plastic. I've got to hold it up to that one for Caradog.
Yes.
Just scratchy plastic. You get the idea. It's made of that. Basically, it's just scratchy plastic. Whereas my old mouse, that was made of soft touch plastic and had chrome trim, and the scroll wheel had the left and right action on it as well as up and down.
Used to have chrome trim.
It still has a bit of chrome trim on it, and like the grips on it were slightly rubberized, and even the bottom of it was soft touch plastic and stuff. And that was not a massively expensive mouse either. That was a mid-range Logitech mouse. Whereas this one, I bought the G603. I didn't go for the 305. I was like, I'm going to get the 603 because that's going to be a more premium feel mouse. And it's just scratchy plastic. And I was like, oh, And I'm like, it's fine, I guess. And, it does track very nicely. But I don't know. I was really underwhelmed. I know it's got really good quality. It's got a great sensor in it, and it's got a great wireless in it. But the actual body and build of the mouse, the fit and the finish, feels no better than something that you buy for 20 quid. And I was just, I was a bit underwhelmed by it, and I'm really sad about it. That's it. That's what I wanted to say about the mouse.
Yeah, because I bought the Logitech Vertical mouse a while ago, and it's utterly underwhelming.
Yeah, same problem.
Utterly underwhelming.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow.
And that's the thing, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad. As I say, it tracks beautifully. It's complete functional-wise, it's brilliant. But when I pick it up, when I pick it up in my hand and look at it, I'm just like, this was £54. This doesn't...
But, yeah.
This, at the fit and finish of it feels £20, even if it's got really good wireless and really good tracking in it. I would show it on camera, but it's at home.
That was my comment on this as well. Was just the fact that it's very light. It's very light, but it's not a gaming mouse, so it shouldn't be super light. And just it feels all funny and. The biggest redeeming feature of it is the fact that you can reprogram every button on it and they've got a bunch of shortcuts and stuff for it, which is cool. And it can pair with 3 computers and it's got USB-C for charging. And I'm like, that's good. At least it's got kind of modern-y features on it. But it feels like that cheap. Yeah. It feels like the plastic that we had with the kind of, trust mice and...
That's the problem.
Dell bundled mice and things like that. Well, no, actually, the Dell bundled mice are better. Yeah, and that's the problem is that, because the mouse is something that you're holding and operating every day, it's the bit that it's your interface to the computer, it's really important that it feels good. And, that really is a first impressions thing. And having something that's really nice under your hands is really important. And it's great that it's got good software and great sensors and USB Type-C and all the rest of it, but anyone can do that.
One of the reasons why I've always loved Logitech peripherals is the fact that you always seem to get a fairly premium feel with them. And as I say, I didn't get that from this at all.
Absolutely.
As I say, it's not bad enough for me to send it back. I don't think I'm going to return it because my old mouse is, as I've mentioned, I've worn through the grips on it. That I've had my money's worth out of that mouse. And so I'm going to keep this one. But as I say, I have to admit, it didn't wow me. It didn't make me feel all warm and cozy and be like, yeah, new mouse. This is really nice. I'm just like, I guess I don't have a grotty old worn out thing that I have to, that's got holes in the side of it anymore. So
yeah, but it's kind of, I guess, when you're kind of going, oh, at least it's not broken.
Yeah,
it's not really saying much.
That's just it. I think the moral of the story is that I think I should have bought the 306. The 306 was the cheaper one, wasn't it? Or 305, 309. God damn it. Logitech G3 305. Yeah. I should have bought the 305 because the Logitech G305, there's not a doubt in my mind that it's made of exactly the same materials. However, that mouse is like £35 or something like that. And I'd have taken that out of the box and I've been like, yeah, that's exactly what I'd expect for 35 quid. And I'd have been completely happy with it. However, because I stumped up for the more expensive one, expecting it to be made of more expensive materials, and it wasn't. And I'm sad about it. That's the end of my story.
Exactly. Yes, it's just a shame. Because I've also got the MX3 or something like that, whatever the newest Ultra MX mouse is. And I was using that, and I just didn't want to swap to it.
Yeah.
Admittedly, part of the reason was obviously the fact that because I've got effectively a full numpad on the side of my mouse currently, and I enjoy having a full numpad on the side of my mouse.
Yeah, that's the problem. A replacement device has to be able to do everything that your old one can do.
Yeah,
and otherwise there will be a source of disappointment there.
Yeah, I really need to find another G600.
Yeah.
Just so I've got one for when one of mine breaks.
Yeah. I think the moral of my story is that if you've got an old mouse, as long as you haven't literally worn it down to the bone, like as I say, I'd worn through all the grips on my one and stuff like that, which I think is why I finally bit the bullet and replaced it. However, if you're thinking, shall I fix my mouse, like put new tactile switches in it and replace the switches and put some new skates on it and stuff like that? Should I fix my old mouse or should I buy a new one? Unless you're going to buy a top-end mouse for about 100 quid because you want to spend that much, I would actually fix your old one. I think is basically where I'm going with this.
It depends as well. If you've got a really old wireless mouse, you're probably going to see benefits going to a new one, even if the build quality is lower, just because obviously the much newer wireless technologies are slightly less likely to have interference. You're going to have better response times on it and stuff. So it's a case of there are nice add-ons to just the newer wireless technology.
Yeah.
But if you're still just going to be buying a USB mouse,
and I have to admit,
plug-in one, I wouldn't bother.
I don't know. Probably. I don't know whether it's a placebo effect because where I just bought this mouse and been slightly underwhelmed by it, I wanted it to feel nice to use. I don't play anything. I don't think I do anything competitive enough for it to really matter. But as I say, the tracking of it, the way it moved and stuff, did feel really nice. And also, I think in a way, it's just in the back of my mind, I know it's a better mouse as well because where my old one, which was a Logitech Marathon mouse, it's an M something 07 or M710 or something like that. It's called the Marathon mouse. It is a very old design, and it would have had very old wireless in it, which probably has about 10 seconds of input lag. So, so to that extent, it is nice to have a nice new mouse and know that it's got a really good modern wireless technology in it. And it's got Bluetooth as well. So if I want to, I can just pick up that mouse and I can just Bluetooth it with my laptop or even a tablet or something like that, should the need arise, and not even need to get the receiver from the back of my computer.
Yeah.
It's got some nice little party tricks.
Has it got the ability to be paired to two devices at once?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, because that's what I liked about those ones as well, and I didn't realize. And it was just a case of the other thing that's quite cool is Logitech have introduced as a part of that, I can't remember exactly what they call it, but software that allows you to effectively KVM
Ooh.
with it. So it's just kind of like, yeah, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Huh, yeah. It's not something I need. That might be something that I should check out at some point. It's not something that I need, but
Yeah.
Sometimes party tricks like that are really good to experiment with, because it's one of those things where those are the sort of party tricks where when you need it, you need it. Like now and then there'll be a situation where you're like, I need to control another computer without having it up on the desk, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, I know exactly how I can do this, kind of thing, and just, yeah.
The downside is you have to
KVM.
install the special Logitech software for it to do it.
Yeah.
But obviously, if it's a setup where you're kind of permanently setting up the computer,
yeah,
or you're setting up a semi-permanent environment, it doesn't particularly matter.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
it's just not useful for, say, in your shop doing repairs.
Yeah, I'm sure there's instances where that's handy. Yeah. Also, Mikey P doesn't understand honeycomb mice. They must fill up with gunk. That's exactly what I'm worried about as well. Does anyone in the chat own one of those fancy honeycomb mice? Have you had issues with just grime getting into it yet? I mean, mate, I don't think they've been around long enough for people to have really had experience with them yet, because like it takes time for grime to build up in a mouse. But maybe the cover comes off of it easy enough for you to just take the cover off and clean it out. But yeah,
I've seen one of them. I've no idea which one it was. And basically, the mouse was just a skate, effectively, and you could just go and pull the two parts apart.
Yeah.
So you had the bit that you were touching and all of the electronic stuff inside, and so on, and the two could just be very easily separated. And
yeah, that'd be cool, because that'd be easy to fix. I'd want it to be weight adjustable as well, though, because I like a fairly heavy mouse. Because where I've been on wireless,
like a honeycomb mouse. The point of the honeycomb mouse is to get it to like 30 or 40 grams.
Ah, yeah. See, I like a weighted mouse because I've been using wireless mice for so long that I'm used to having the weight of a couple of batteries in there. And like they don't weigh. I don't know how much they weigh, but obviously they're heavier than a wired mouse. Whenever I pick up just a basic wired mouse, I'm just like, ugh, it's gross. Whereas I'm used to having a couple of AA's in a mouse where, it's got a bit of momentum to it, and I like that feel.
Yeah. It's like when I had my G5 and G9X, I'd always put the maximum weight in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always make that as heavy as possible, which is kind of the complete opposite of the current trend.
Yeah. One of your team bought... where was that? I just spotted... Andrew Jackson in the chat. What's up, dude? How's it going? Yeah, one of your team bought one and he hates it. Does it not come apart? I mean, I suppose you could probably still clean it out anyway. I advise to everyone... where is it? There we go. Ugh. A must-have for anyone, whether you're a technician or not, go to the supermarket, buy a multi-pack of toothbrushes for like £1 or a couple of dollars. Just the cheapest multi-pack of toothbrushes in the store. So you've got some toothbrushes lying around, because these are magic for cleaning things. You can then pick up your mouse or your gamepad or whatever and just clean all the grime out of all the cracks of it. Just such a simple thing. Buy some toothbrushes and stick them in your drawer so you can clean stuff. Easy.
Different toothbrushes to actually clean your teeth.
Yes.
Because don't forget to do that twice a day.
Yes, indeed. Remember, you only get one set of teeth, everyone. Except your milk teeth, those don't count. Don't get smart with me.
Well, technically, you do only get one set of teeth because you are born with all of your teeth. You don't grow them. You are born with all of them.
Yes, that's true. It's just the milk teeth fall out, don't they? Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. You only get one set of teeth, everyone.
And now we're all up to here, and yes, it is slightly very unnerving seeing a skull with all of the teeth in.
Yes, I mean, not that we're going to get into this conversation. However, as a kid, I had double rows as a kid. The last of my milk teeth would not come out, and I was in like year 7 or year 8. So we're talking, how old is that? What, 10 or 11 years old? Yeah, about 11 or 12 years old in school. Literally had 2 rows of front teeth. So yeah, trust me, I know about the horrors of milk teeth. I had to have them all pulled out at one point. It was a horrible experience. Anyway, you need to get some cleaning brushes for your game controller. Yep, do it. As I say, go to the supermarket, cheapest toothbrushes, get a multi-pack so you've got a couple. Cheapest ones for about £1. Done and done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Adamant teeth. Anyway, yeah. While we're talking about stuff, while we're doing a bit of show and tell, I thought I'd just show off something that I thought was cool. Because I think this is cool, but it's not cool enough for me to make a video about it. And I just wanted to share it with people because I thought it was cool. I finally got a delivery from the Pine 64 store, which is a Chinese brand, or Shenzhen or whatever. And they're making electronic stuff. I bought the Pine Sill. It's like pencil, but pine. Yeah, you see? Soldering iron. So this is a TS100 style soldering iron. Which looks like that. It's got the same screen on it that TS100 has and a couple of buttons. However, the interesting thing about this soldering iron, again, interchangeable tips like the TS100, takes the same tips. But the interesting thing is, it can be powered by USB Type-C or a barrel jack. It's got both. So it's interesting. I thought it was cool because it combines the advantages of the TS80 with its Type-C power delivery and the TS100 with a barrel jack. So you can basically power this from anything you've got lying around on your bench. So I bought one of these, and there will be a video about that, because I want to compare it versus a TS100 and see if it's any good.
I also just like the fact that they were like, oh yes, it's also got open source firmware.
Yeah, that's right. It's got open source firmware as well. It's an open source soldering iron that you can play Tetris on, I think. And then I also bought, from the same store, I bought this is a Pine 64, it's their Pine Power desktop power supply. So this is a USB power supply. It is, what's the maximum output? It's 120 watts, and it's got quick charge 3 5-volt outputs, and power delivery 65 watts on it. So it basically powers anything USB, and it's got 10 watt Qi charging on top of it as well. So I thought this is a really cool thing to have in the shop, because I can have that sitting on the front desk and basically charge anything from it. So obviously with the PD65, with the power delivery 65 output, I could run that soldering iron on that. So I've now got power delivery 65 watt source, which is cool because I didn't actually have any Type-C power delivery chargers in my shop. So when power delivery stuff comes in, I'm kind of stuck. I don't have anything for it. And I've actually been enjoying plugging various things into this and going, hey, look at that. This thing supports power delivery. And like charging a Nintendo Switch off of it and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just a really cool thing. And on the front, the screen...
you are the wrong way round.
I am the wrong way round, but you guys can figure it out. It shows you the voltages and the current for each output as well. Whoops. And it shows you the charge status for everything that's plugged into it as well. So yeah, so you can have a load of stuff on it and you can see how fast it's charging. And like the power delivery thing, that will show you the voltage and the current that it's charging at. So like when I plug my phone into that, it goes to 9 volts, 1.8 amps or so. And then when I plugged in a Nintendo Switch the other day, that went to 15 volts and a couple of amps. And I was like, that's cool, I like it. So yeah, I was like, and yeah, you can get very similar things from Amazon, but I don't know if those are any good yet. As I say, at some point I need to get some links so I can link people to this stuff. But yeah, search for Pine 64 for their shop. You got to order it all from China, so you know you won't get this stuff fast. But yeah, I bought it. I thought it was pretty good. I've been enjoying it, so I thought I'd just share that with the class. And yeah, there'll be a video about the soldering iron to see if that's any good. Because as I say, because that can be powered from Type-C or barrel jack, this is potentially a it does everything soldering iron for me.
I just like the fact that it's got a RISC-V processor and they're selling it as being open source. It's just kind of a case of, it's like, I'm not sure what kind of software I need to run on my soldering iron.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
Also the fact that, like, the TS100, you can do firmware updates, and I'm like, why does my soldering iron require firmware updates?
It's like, at some point, we're going to need firmware updates for our electric toothbrush, you know? And,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, there has been an intermittent error discovered where it occasionally kills people. You know, by spinning the motor too fast and going burr through your mouth.
Yeah. Gets your Internet of Things toothbrush gets hacked from Russia. So
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I can't put the washing machine on. Why not? It needs to do a firmware update.
Yeah. I
It
have
needs
to
a new
admit,
jingle.
the fact that it's open source, I like most people go sort of, oh, it's open source, that's really good. I'm like, I don't care, to be honest. Like a lot of people have been like sort of, oh, have you done the firmware update on your TS100? And I'm like, no. I turn it on and it heats up. That's it. That's all it's got to do.
I did try to do one on mine. Just because I saw it as a thing, and I was just like, oh,
let's
okay,
see what that looks like.
Sure,
Yeah.
why not? Let's see what happens. Couldn't get it to do anything. I was clearly doing it wrong, but no, I couldn't get the stuff to function.
Oh, Paige says, wasn't there a pair of smart shoes that couldn't get a firmware update? I don't know. This is like Poe's law at this point. It's just like you could tell me anything and I'd have no idea if you're joking or not. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, the self-lacing trainers that had faulty firmware. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. At any rate, though, yeah, as I say, this one interested me just because of the Type-C and barrel jack power delivery on it. Which is very cool, because the reason why that is interesting is it means that you can power that from a bench power supply. You could power it from a power delivery power supply like one of these, which you might have, or if you've got Type-C chargers lying around, you could power from that. Or again, because of that barrel jack, you could power that from a Type-C power bank with power delivery on it, or because of the barrel jack, you could just plumb that into a LiPo battery. You could just stick a barrel jack on your LiPo battery and power it from that. So the point is, whatever you've got on your bench, you can connect it up to this and power it. That's what makes it interesting to me. So
that's what I've done.
Yeah, the price on it, it wasn't expensive. I think it was about $35 for what you see there. Just the soldering iron with at it. Yeah, it was about. I think it was about $35.
Cheaper than the TS100. Then,
It is cheaper than the TS100. Bearing in mind, I think you're going to have to pay like $10 delivery as well. I think. But yeah, I remember it was very cheap. It was cheap enough that I saw it and I'm like, I don't even need this, but I'm going to buy one and just take a punt at that. Also, my wet soldering iron is very worn out, so I want a second soldering iron because I'm working at a professional level, I need two of everything in here. So if one breaks, I've got another one because I have backups. So yeah, like what?
Card machines.
Like card machines. Yes. I'm working on it. I'm not. I will work on it. So,
someone simply said the word propane in chat, and I instantly thought of Propane Nightmares.
There's a song I've not heard in a while. Gas soldering irons. I've seen one. But the problem is, because our friend who popped up in chat earlier on had a propane soldering iron, or a butane one, or whatever. However, when he had that soldering iron, though, I had not gotten good at soldering. So while I think I've used it at one point and been like, hey, Nido, I was not good enough to be able to use it and be like, and actually judge whether it was any good or not. Because we were still at the stage where, as far as we were concerned, the soldering iron gets hot. That's it. That's all there is to it. We had no concept of anything else.
Oh, God.
So yeah, I'd be interested to try one out because when I was looking at getting one of the original reasons why I bought a TS100 was because I wanted a mobile soldering iron that could actually be used in the field. And so obviously there, a gas-powered soldering iron was quite an attractive option. Because apparently, they heat up in a couple of seconds. You click the button and it just heats up in a couple of seconds. You release the button and it goes off and cools down again. That's it. But yeah, they get very hot, but also are they controllable as well? And I don't know, they seem I'm dropping things. Are they big boys? Are they hard to hold? I don't know. Maybe I'll buy one at some point and try it because I don't know. People seem to be interested in equipment videos. When I do equipment videos, they seem to do quite well, and I'm interested in learning about equipment. So maybe
I'll like the idea of you saying like, "Oh yes, equipment you can use in the field," considering you refuse to do, call outs.
True. Well, I've used it at a LAN party. I'm seriously. I took my soldering kit to a LAN party because someone said they might have needed something fixed, and KO and the gang were there with all their drones, and we were fixing drones at the LAN party. It was rad.
Of course you were.
Yeah,
of course.
It was super cool. So, I don't expensive.
I still think your other solution to portable is just 25-volt battery, 25-volt, 5,000 milliamp hour LiPo. You'll be able to solder for a month.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, at that LAN party, I was running my TS100 on this boy. And this is a 4-cell 1300 milliamp hour. And this one, I was using it on and off. I was tinkering with my soldering iron for most of the day. We were fiddling around with stuff. So I probably put about 4 or 5 hours of use on this, and I had not emptied it, but I drained it significantly. So, I mean, a modest 4-cell LiPo like that, that'll give you most of a day. And like, if that is not enough to get you through what you're doing, then you should probably have a mains power solution anyway. But that's not even massive. So, like if you had a Type C power bank that was like that was, again, we've got to the problem is we've got to convert into watt hours to actually compare here. But if you had a Type C power bank that was twice the size of this, that'd get you through a day or two of hobbyist soldering, no problem. And exactly. you wouldn't need anything more than that. But yeah. Remember that LAN? Yeah. Wait, oh yeah, of course you would have been at that LAN, wouldn't you, Andrew Jackson? Yeah, of course you were there. I was like, were you at that one? I was like, yes, of course you were. Yeah, that was a good LAN. That was the last one we were at, I think. I think that was the previous net LAN. Not net LAN, JLAN. God, I can't wait for LAN parties to be a thing again. I miss them. Even though you don't...
See, you've got a new shop.
Yeah, maybe.
Just long tables.
Maybe. I tell you what, I did actually look up what the cost of trestle tables was the other night, because I was going to buy some trestle tables for the shop, and I nearly fell out my seat. Trestle tables are like 30 or 40 quid a pop, and I'm just like, really? So
yes.
It's it's going to cost, like, if I buy a bunch of trestle tables, that's going to cost a couple of £100, and I'm like, they're more expensive than I thought. So,
yeah, but it'll be less than all of the lighting work that you need to get done.
That is true. Yes, lots of planning to do there on that front. Big same. Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get the lighting and stuff. I mean, I don't know how much lighting work I want to do in the shop yet, but I'll figure that out. I definitely need to get lights overhead where the counters are. I do think I was originally going to have...
you should use the 600 by 600 panels.
Yeah, I think
£19.
Yeah, those are so cheap for the amount of light that they produce that I should definitely have a whole bunch of those over the top of the counter, and then use the studio lights for me lighting. Have the ceiling panel lights for the actual bench lighting, and have the studio lights to illuminate me or the subject per se. So yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah,
it'll be good.
Yeah, let's see.
You also clearly need to get a sofa in there.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll have space for one anywhere. Although, well, yeah, it depends. I could find a spot to put a sofa, but it's a question of where to put a sofa where it's useful. Because ideally, I need to put a sofa somewhere where it is facing either a wall that I can have a projector pointing at, or somewhere where there can be a TV, so it's actually a useful sofa. As I say, I don't know what I'm going to do on that front yet, because I would find there's some places I can think of where I could put a sofa, but nowhere where it would actually be useful. So I've got to figure that out still. Well, that's the thing, Si. Under the window was one of the things that I was thinking, but then it can't look anywhere. Like I could have it under the window, but there's no wall in front of it to put a TV or a projector onto. I guess you could sit on that sofa to hang out, but I feel like one of the benefits of having a sofa would be that you can have a projector or a TV there for stuff. So
a TV on wheels.
TV on wheels, yeah, maybe.
Suddenly 90s nostalgia.
Yeah. Big old CRT that you roll in and everyone goes, oh, it's a TV class or something, you know.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. It's going to figure out as I go in there, but yeah. I gotta wait like 3 weeks for the 3 weeks for the broadband and phone to go in there first, which is the sucky part. But yeah, at least I've started moving stuff down there.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
So suddenly your current one will suddenly feel actually manageably empty.
Yeah, well, I mean, I moved some stuff the other night, and I took out all the easy boxes like spare computer cases and stuff like that, and I have immediately cleared enough space that I can start sorting. But to progress any further, I've got to chuck out all the cardboard, which I'm going to do after this show. Chuck out all the cardboard, and then I will have unburied more stuff to take down the shop. But then it's also a matter of I've got to figure out what I can take down there and what needs to stay here in case I need it. Like I did take down the brand new motherboards I've got in stock. I took those down to the shop because I'm like, I'm not doing any build. I've got no builds coming up. And then immediately I wanted them to feature them in a video. So I had to go down to the shop and bring them back again. So that's the thing is, at the moment, I'm just like, what do I take down the shop? How much do I move knowing that I'm not actually going to be operating in there for another 2 weeks? But
basically everything that's in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing as well, is I don't want to move something that is just straight up junk. Because I don't want to move junk into the new shop. Because at the moment, where I'll be keeping the lease on the old one...
Though. You'll have more space to sort it, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I was sort of going along the lines of only moving down stuff that I knew I was keeping. You're right. I think what I'll be doing is I'll move stuff if I'm not sure. If I'm thinking I want this or I'm not sure, it goes down to the new shop. But there's a lot of stuff in here where I can take one look at it and go, no, that's going to e-waste. I just haven't shipped it out yet, kind of thing. So
74 boxes of broken hard drives later.
Exactly. Yeah, precisely. And also just like a bunch of just dead towers and stuff and, you know, empty cases where I'm just like, this is no EM case. I'm never going to use this. It just needs to go into e-waste.
It's not even like a cool OEM case.
No, it's just junk. But yeah, also I'm kind of mindful, like part of me wants to do a e-waste run down to that one place we know, but I don't know whether I should be driving stuff around at the moment because we're technically in lockdown. And it's technically not a required trip, but like no one I don't know.
I would say though that it's reasonably critical though, because it allows for your business to function.
Yeah, that is true, and it doesn't require me to interact with anyone. All I got to do is all I have to do is drive down to the next town, pull up outside this one place we know, dump it all in a skip, and drive away again.
Yeah,
that is it.
And especially
I'm not fly tipping, by the way.
Especially if you do it at 11 o'clock at night with torches and a balaclava.
Yes, I'm not fly tipping, by the way. We are authorised to dump in this location. I'm just not going to say where.
Yes.
But yes. Well then.
But
yeah.
Just dumping into a skip. It's not that much of a problem.
Yeah. Moving on to other stuff. PC Bolt asks, Graham, are there VRMs for PCH bridge on motherboard? Yes. Anything that's powered will have a regulator on it somehow. I think the PCH is big enough to actually have what would be considered a VRM. It'll be really basic though. For something like the PCH, you'll just have 2 MOSFETs and a coil, and that'll be it. You won't have a heatsink on it. You probably won't be able to see the PWM chip anywhere. It might even be a single chip solution where there's one chip that is a PWM controller and 2 MOSFETs in a single chip, and then an inductor, and then your PCH. So there will be a VRM, but it won't look like the VRMs on the CPU because it's a much lower power out. It only needs to provide 10 or 15 watts,
If that.
Yeah, as opposed to your CPU, which needs hundreds of watts. I actually have a very interesting video in progress where just before we started doing this, I have done 1 take, 2 takes, 3 takes, 4 takes, 5 takes of explaining how a VRM works, and I still haven't got the take that I'm satisfied with. So the other thing that I need to do tonight is to sit down and script that scene, so I merely have to read from my script. Like, I've explained how it works, but the problem is each one of them is about 10 or 12 minutes long, and I'm like, I don't want to spend 12 minutes of a video explaining this. I want to smash through the explanation in 5 minutes and go, this is the VRM, this is how it works, cool, let's get to the practical demonstrations. Because, a bit of theory is good, but I don't like the video that I'm working on is already going to be really long. Because the video didn't really go the direction I planned. This is the one that I was talking about in the secret chat on the Discord, where I'm testing motherboard VRMs and trying to demonstrate how some VRMs are better than others. And I was not getting the results that I wanted, but I've got some results. I've got enough results to be able to draw a conclusion. It's just not as obvious as I wanted it to be. Because the long and the short of it is, I put an AMD 3950X into a trash motherboard, and it was fine. Yeah. And I'm like, shit. This motherboard was supposed to fall over. The VRMs were supposed to catch fire trying to run this chip in an overclocked condition.
But no.
Yeah. Because that's what YouTube told me would happen. Could it be that the YouTubers are wrong? Could it be that everyone tells you to buy really expensive things when actually you don't need expensive things?
Depends. The answer is it depends.
Exactly. But it was much harder. It was a lot harder than I expected to give a nice, clear result. But however, at the very least, though, and as I say, that video is going to be very long. However, it will be a video that explains what the VRMs on your motherboard are, how they work, and how what the difference is between motherboards with a very high built-up VRM and a very low-end VRM. I will go through all of it. The only thing I won't go into is switching frequencies and stuff like that, because A, I don't have a good oscilloscope, and B, that's starting. Go and watch actually Hardcore Overclocking if you want to talk about that. But the point is, I want to make a video that will train people to be able to understand what the hell BuildZoid is talking about. That's the objective. If you can watch my video and then understand a word that BuildZoid says, I've done my job. So
yeah, basically, yeah.
Right.
It's kind of just a bit sad as to how inaccessible the actual information is in the videos because of the length of the videos.
Yeah. But yeah, as I say, sometimes the greatest artists are very misunderstood.
Or just difficult to understand due to length of soliloquy.
Yeah, or speaking German. Yeah.
Achtung!
That was a
Panzerin. Wait, hold on.
That was a slight at Der Bauer. But,
what's wrong with Der Bauer?
He speaks German.
He also redoes every video in English.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I thought all of his videos were subbed.
No, a couple of them are.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't want to reshoot the video because he's doing like a Q&A video. He'll just reply and put the English underneath, or like it's a live stream. He won't do that. He'll just do a live stream in German because he's German.
Fair enough.
But it's always fun just hearing a live stream and just hearing German, AMD, German, processor, German, 1.4 volts.
I think, yeah. I think that's more funny when you hear it in like Japanese or something like that. Because when you hear English words in the middle of a stream of Japanese, it sounds a lot funnier. But yeah. Languages, man. How about that? Demi BS, you missed an hour and a half because your mother wouldn't stop babbling. I'm sad. You're going to have to watch the VOD like a poor person, or everyone on the west coast of America. Hi, Florida. So...
What?
Oh, no, wait. What's the other one on the west coast? No, Florida's east coast.
Did you mean California?
California, that's the one.
California.
I get California and Florida mixed up. Make of that what you will.
They're polar opposites.
Well, they're on opposite sides of the country, and they're both weird sunshine states or something. There's no way of me out of this conversation without looking stupid other than just changing the conversation.
So, how about them apples?
PC Bolt says, I think VRMs are multi-phase buck converters, right? Yes, although technically any buck converter counts as a VRM. It's a voltage regulator module. That's it. That's all it is. However, yes, generally speaking, a voltage regulator module, that could be used in lots of different ways. It might use a linear regulator, or it might use a switching transformer or something like that. However, typically in the examples that we're going with here, motherboards and things like that, it's generally going to be a buck regulator, so yes. And typically you will have multiples of them in phases to provide more current handling and more stability. And also to spread out the heat. So yes. You're in Oregon and you've been watching since the beginning. Good morning, Budney76. How's it going? They're both weird. Stop there. Yeah. Anyway, right. We need any news
on other countries.
Yeah. Is there any tech news to talk about? Because there's nothing in chat at the moment, and I've run out of things to say.
Not specifically tech news, but kind of just process industry news. Ian Cutchess was talking about TSMC, as always.
Yeah.
And them bringing packaging in-house for silicon stuff. And I was just kind of like, fair enough. That's yet another string to their bow. They will be doing all of the things.
Define packaging. Is that as in, so instead of just creating the wafers, they're now assembling the chip as well?
They can, as far as I understand it, it will be basically the full process will be able to be done in one go. But it's a case that, that's a couple of years off. But, yeah, just very interesting that TSMC are continuing to develop yet more revenue streams, even though they are wanted for everyone.
Yeah. They are definitely digging in at the moment, aren't they? They're putting their fingers in all the pies. Like, already they are indispensable to everything. Like, word on the wire is at the moment they're putting their focus on doing more automotive silicon to keep the cars rolling out the factories.
Yeah,
and it's just
they're trying to ramp that back up.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, they're making everything. And now if they're looking into doing like all that packaging as well, you can clearly see how they are using their current position to make themselves indispensable. And that is really interesting because like TSMC is a name that, you know, it's one of those things where a lot of people, if you said to the average person, like most people, if you say, who is Intel, who is AMD, they'd be like, oh, they make computer components. You know, they make the CPUs
Probably.
Or whatever. Chances are they'd know who that is. You know, everyone knows the Intel jingle. Ding, 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 ding. You know, everyone's heard that on the adverts. But if you said, who's TSMC, they'd be like, who's the what now? But like, at the rate they're going, considering they make everything, you know, TSMC may be a name that people actually know in the near future. They could be they're already a massive company, and I wonder how that's going to go.
Yes, it's just interesting how they seem to have picked up importance this year and a bit, in the past 12 months-ish, given that there are fewer and fewer fabs at the forefront of the miniaturization.
I think also people are actually paying more attention and caring more about where stuff comes from now. Between the shortages and just new technologies, like with AMD suddenly making amazing CPUs, people are just like, how have they done this? Where are they getting it from? And it's like they've got TSMC's rad 7 nanometer process kind of thing. And when people are just like, oh, there's a shortage of XYZ, well, why is there a shortage? Who makes it? Can they make more? And so people are learning sort of, well, TSMC make these chips and they'd love to make more, but they do not have enough hours in the day. So, that's where that comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. And to read verbatim the tweet from Ian Cuttress, and I am not going to explain this because I don't even understand it. But he says, obviously, GF, SM, IC, UMC, others still need OSATS still. And I'm just like, yes! Good Lord!
Okay.
What? Can I help you?
That definitely answers a lot of questions that I had.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's saying Global Foundries, GF, SMIC as Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation. Corporation. And then I don't know who UMC are specifically, but again, I presume they're another unified manufacturing corp or something like that, So yeah.
Fair enough. The only competitor is Samsung, really. Potentially. It depends on what you need. I mean, the only competitor is Samsung if they make what you need. Although, I don't know. It depends because
Samsung make processors. They make DRAM.
Yeah,
they make
DRAM
GPUs.
is really their specialty. DRAM and NAND, isn't it? Do they make NAND as well?
Well, yeah, they make SSDs, don't they?
Yeah, but it's their own chips. Yeah, of course they do. Yeah, sorry. Whatever. I'm getting tired. Anyway, yeah. However, they make they make CPUs to that extent, I suppose. But by comparison, TSMC kind of do a bit of everything. If it's got silicon in it, then TSMC will make it for you. They seem to be they seem to have positioned themselves as just a fabrication company, whereas Samsung, I feel, are a bit more special, where they hyper specialized in NAND and DRAM, and then they've started going into CPUs as well, just for the sake of making ARM chips. And
Samsung have made CPUs for years. It's like my first HTC phones were powered by Samsung processors.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I suppose it's. I haven't until recently with the rise of Qualcomm SoCs. I didn't really think that much about who was making the chips inside earlier smartphones. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really give it much thought. Although even
the Nexus 4 was the processor, and that was made by Texas Instruments.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
it wasn't. Sorry, the Galaxy Nexus was made by Texas.
I mean, Texas Instruments. I assume they have their own fabs, though.
I don't know. I can't remember.
That's a good question, actually.
These days now,
Texas Instrument. I think we've talked about this before when we were talking about ARM being purchased and stuff like that. Fabulous.
But yeah, it's just very interesting the number of companies that have been involved in chip manufacture and so on, and who aren't now, and so on. It's like
TI. They're certainly fabless now, anyway.
Yeah, if you want to have a good reminder of a lot of it, is kind of looking up the history of Citrix. And sorry, not Citrix, Cyrax.
Yeah, no, sorry, Cyrax correction. TI do still have fabs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they are still rolling their own silicon, which doesn't surprise me because of all the calculators they make. But yeah, anyway, carry on.
I would imagine that they're not at any point close to like 7 or 8 nanometer though.
No,
I'd
no.
imagine, because obviously the
That
stuff they're doing is probably still on 14 or 28.
yeah, they're making microcontrollers and I don't know about ASICs, but probably they're making microcontrollers and they're probably making FPGAs and stuff like that. I would imagine.
Maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, that kind of thing.
But yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say concerned, maybe marginally saddened that the number of foundries in the world at the pinnacle of technology is reducing.
Yeah.
It's shrinking more and more, and it is a case that it's focusing more and more on just TSMC and things like that.
Yeah.
So, because obviously, if you go back,
there's a lack of competition there, and
if you go back 5 or 6 years, you had Intel, Glofo, and TSMC, who were, kind of all there or thereabouts, jostling on the densest packing, and then Gloflo said that they were not going to try and compete down at 7 nanometer. They weren't going to go into extreme UV lithography and stuff like that, so they pulled out. And now, obviously, Intel's having problems with its 10 and 7. So it's kind of a case of, do we end up with basically it only being TSMC?
Yeah. The competition is dwindling, and while at the moment TSMC is everyone's darling because they're making all the chips that we love, but there could be a severe danger of TSMC, especially if they get, like we're saying, the smart move on their part, getting into all of the industries, being a one-stop solution for anyone who wants a chip to be made. But if you're not careful, you end up where they're the only viable option. They become the new Amazon of chips. And it's a case of you've either got to get TSMC to make it, or you've got to pay twice the price for some other small outfit that's still struggling to get it done, who may or may not be able to do as good a job with it. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think TSMC are making very smart moves at the moment, but yeah, I do agree. It does seem a little less heartwarming that it's not a wild west of everyone trying to make their own fabs and competing to make the smallest process. And I think part of that is just simply, obviously, as the processes get smaller, it becomes harder and harder to do it, because if it's one thing, if you're interested in CPU design and fabrication and the idea of diffusing chips, look up DIY chip making. Check out people like Sam Zeloof, and let me just quickly see if I can find a link for you guys. Yeah, here we go. I'm just going to drop a link into chat. Look up people like Sam Zeloof at zeloof.xyz. This guy makes his own integrated circuits in a basement lab. He makes his own chips using, he's literally doing, he's making his own stuff with his own equipment in his parents' basement kind of thing. So it's a very interesting look at what does it actually take to make your own chip. And now, I don't know what kind of process size he would be working on. At the moment, he's looking at getting a couple of transistors onto a single chip. So obviously, he's probably working big at the moment. He's probably working up in millimeters, rather than nanometers. But it's an interesting idea that it introduces someone to the concept, what it takes to make a chip. And like, when you look at stuff like that, you're like, oh, there you go. Anyone can do it. Obviously not anyone, but like, if the world is out there, anyone can go ahead and say, right, okay, we need this, this, and this. This is the process. This is how you do it. You can make it. If you give anyone a hammer and a chisel, eventually he'll figure out how to carve a statue. But the problem is when you get down to the really small lithographies that we're working in these days, you're getting into futuristic and space age processes, where it's a case of that is not something that someone can just figure out. That is something that requires teams of researchers decades to build the foundry to produce. There's more to that than just figuring it out. It's actually building it, and it requires magical materials and equipment that again, it would be like building a nuclear power plant where it takes 20 years just to build the nuclear power station, and that's after you've designed it. You design the power station, and then it'll take you another 20 years just to build it. That's kind of the problem there. And I think that's probably why we're seeing this dwindling competition, because we're getting to the point now where it is now a feat of black magic to actually produce these modern things. And people are taking the output of that for granted. We're expecting that black magic now. Now we've had a taste of it with the Ryzen 5000 series. We're expecting anything that comes after that to be as good as or better. Most likely better.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's why I'm pleased that China is focusing on making its own self-sufficient fabs at cutting-edge lithographies, cutting-edge densities.
Yeah.
Because it's state-funded, it doesn't need to turn a profit.
Yeah.
It just, obviously, it's a case of its national pride. Thing. It's a project from that perspective. So it doesn't matter whether the 3 or 4 companies that they've got doing it make money. They'll keep getting money as long as they make progress.
Yeah.
Which is good ultimately for everyone.
Yeah. It bears mention, of course, that on a political level, there's plenty wrong with China at the political level when we're getting involved with government funded and state stuff. However, at face value, the fact that there are other countries working on building their own fabrication facilities to rival, I agree, that's a good thing. It's a good thing that there is someone else in the world who is trying to get up to the same level and and potentially has the means to do so. So whatever their motivations are, it's good that there is someone out there that is doing it at least. So I'd agree with that.
It's like the I'll call them the Chinese version of Verizon processors. They're not, but like those, the fact that they went from their first version having approximately equivalent performance to something like an AMFX4, to their second generation one having roughly similar performance to Zen 1.
I was going to say, didn't they get up to first gen Ryzen? Yeah,
they did that inside a single generation.
Yeah, that's obviously a massive step up.
Obviously, their third generation isn't going to be the same, but it's a case that if they have that ability, hopefully it does mean that within 10 years there will be parity.
Yeah, well, certainly. I mean,
even a minor leap.
Even getting to Zen 1 performance, that gets you into the same era that we're in, because like when you talk about AMD FX and stuff like that, that's a previous era. Whereas, the Zen era, we're still in that era. Granted, the distance between Zen 3 and Zen 1 is a long way, but that is modern technology. They're not trying to work bronze in the Iron Age. That's the thing here. They're using this. They're onto the same materials, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's it's just impressive to see that the development that has been made and where it goes. And I'm just hoping that we see different other architectures and stuff coming out, like we've got RISC-V and things like that. I'm hoping that it gives us benefits.
And that kind of leads,
because of the changes, it will give us benefits.
Yeah, that certainly leads into what we were talking about last week with regards to the twilight era of x86. Where potentially it's, if we are indeed going into an era of lots of new people making chips, and we're about to hit a new era of or a new paradigm of platforms per se, then there's going to be lots of people running around with new fabrications to make them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I would like to know more about, obviously, instruction sets and things like that. I'm not going to put the time in to learn it.
Yeah. Someone will, though, which is the important thing. Is
it's just kind of a case of it would be nice to find someone who was doing the very fundamental building block point. So kind of what is this stuff at a super high level, 38,000 feet edition.
Yes.
It would be nice to have that, just so the thing made sense.
Yeah. I've linked this before, but if you're interested in the topic of CPUs and how they work, once again, I cannot recommend enough Ben Eater's YouTube channel. And if you want to learn,
for many years,
watch his series on building an 8-bit computer on a breadboard. And he will teach you how a CPU works, basically from the ground up. It's a lot of hours of watching, but he will teach you how a CPU works from the ground up. Did
he have a couple of videos called like the worst graphics card?
Yeah, he built the worst. He built a graphics card out of TTL logic. So just basic logic chips. And yeah, so yeah, as I say, definitely check out Ben Eater.
That's cool.
Right, at this point, I'm just going to step back. We had a super chat earlier on from AJ. Thank you very much for the £2, AJ, who said, RAM removed before sell, data recoverable, work PC. Thank you very much for the £2. I would not sell a computer with no RAM in it. Personally, I think that's a bit of a dick move, unless you're stripping it for parts. But personally, if I'm buying a computer, I expect it to come with some memory in it. However, it's quite common to buy ex-business computers with no hard drive, though. That's not entirely unexpected, as long as you make sure that you advertise it as having no hard drive in it. Data recoverable. Oh, I see where you're going. Are you implying, do I need to remove the RAM to make sure no one can recover data from the RAM? No, you cannot recover data from the RAM of a computer that you've just purchased off the internet. Obviously, we can get into forensics and how you could probably find data in memory that has been turned off within the past hour or something like that. However, if you buy a computer off of the internet, no, you can't recover data from the RAM. That is not feasible beyond a theoretical level, I don't think. However, yes, you will want to remove the hard drive, or you will want to make sure that the hard drive has been properly erased with a proper multi-pass zero-out erase.
Yeah.
And then another one that's come up a couple of times, PC Bolt has asked about high bandwidth memory, HBM, a couple of times. I don't know a lot about HBM. It's not used very often. AMD dabbled in it on the Vega series. AMD dabbled
on Vega and also on the Ryzen 7.
Yeah, they have dabbled with it on some stuff. It is mainly about, you take the memory bus out of the equation and you stick the memory straight into the CPU, is my understanding of it. So it's kind of like having an enormous cache on the CPU. You access the memory directly off of the CPU die, instead of actually having a memory bus and a memory controller to go out onto. That's my understanding of it. However, it's very complicated because you have to build the memory chips directly onto the same chip as the processor, which makes manufacturing and space very difficult. Certainly on, I believe, the Vega cards, the earlier Vega cards with HBM memory, they didn't have very much VRAM because they could only fit a small amount of it physically on the chip. But it was so fast that you could swap data in and out of it so quickly that it was not as important. However, as I say, I really don't know enough about it to give a good answer to that, I don't think.
Oh. Yes, I suddenly just remembered that the R9 Nano, Fury X, etc. were all AMD Fiji cards. I completely forgot that. And that they are 5 years old.
Yes.
I entirely forgot that they were that old.
Yeah, those are not HBM. That's pre-HBM.
They are the first HBM cards.
Were they?
Yeah.
Huh, fair enough.
I didn't realise. I thought it was, the Vega, the 5664 Ryzen 7. It apparently wasn't, which surprised me. So yes, it was, the R9 Fury, R9 Nano, Fury X, and then Duo Pro all had HBM. And the thing with HBM, as far as I can tell with it, obviously in the case of its existence, is it's reasonably low clock speed, but it's exceedingly wide bus. Like the memory bus. The memory bus will be 1024-bit wide, as opposed to the usual like 128, 192. It'll be 1024 wide, and you'll get, I think the latest version of it is up to a terabit per pin or something like that of bandwidth, which is approximately crazy.
But interestingly, it does beg the question that when you're working on a bus that is very slow and wide instead of very narrow and fast, I wonder how much you have to optimize the software to actually utilize that. But yeah,
I've no idea specifically, but it's obviously all GPU stuff because GPUs love bandwidth.
Yeah.
So I don't know enough about it specifically. And anything I did say, I would just be reading from probably the Anantech article about it.
Yeah, fair enough. Right. Anything else? If not, I think it's probably about time to wrap up, really, isn't it? We're coming up to the 2-hour mark.
Just Ryzen, just Threadripper Pro boards actually now available for sale in limited numbers, but still.
Fair enough. Although you can't buy the chip though, can you?
It's all DIY now.
Oh, okay. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I thought the Threadripper Pro was OEM only.
No, it has just gone DIY.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. That's interesting.
So yeah, this month, basically.
So,
I imagine it will be
fans can go wild
for a little bit. But yeah, it should be available DIY. That was apparently the plan. It was just obviously a case of if you make it so it's limited to just a single setup, you have to do a far smaller amount of testing so you can get it to market faster.
Yeah.
Etc. And yeah, I am interested to see what we get for Threadripper 5000 parts.
Yes, that's true.
How ridiculously mind-numbingly fast in multi-threaded applications the 64-core version will be.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty bonkers. Woo, lads. Fair enough. Right, okay, yep, I think we're going to tie off. I'll just hit the last 2 questions I can see in chat because I think those are quick and easy ones. Did shipping costs go up for the UK this COVID time? I haven't seen much change in shipping costs. I mean, stuff is more expensive, but I haven't seen things have not been too bad for shipping costs. The only issue we've got at the moment is obviously with Brexit going on, the UK is now imposing VAT on import stuff more so than before. So we are getting stung for 20% VAT on things that we previously were not paying VAT on, which sucks balls. But yeah, that's a bit of a long-winded conversation. But we are seeing increased costs in other places.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
And obviously just the thing of obviously because of a continual massive demand for everything, there is less supply available, so that means that prices go up.
Yeah,
and also
get a knock-on effect.
It also means that faster shipping methods are being selected, which costs more, so the price will be higher because of faster shipping method pricing.
Yeah. True indeed. Yeah. And then the only other thing as well that popped up was, I think it was Noel Dowles. Yeah, have you estimated the cost of the shop move overall? Actually, I haven't. Theoretically, I mean, I have not totted up the costs, really. I mean, there's not going to be... It's mostly going to be costs of fitting in the new shop, I think. Moving isn't too much of a big deal because my current shop is so small that despite being jam-packed, there's a little enough stuff here that I can just move it by hand in my car, which is how I'm going to do most of it. I've had lots of people who've reached out and said, hey, if you need a man in a van or something like that, and I've been like, appreciate the offer, but honestly, it's not something I really need. The only thing I will need help with at some point, which I shall probably drag Caradog into, is to move the counters, because it requires 2 people physically to lift the counters because of the length of them. I have lifted my longest counter before, and I managed it. And after I did it, I said, I'm never doing that again. So this time I will be smart, and I will I'll say to Caradog, can you come up to the shop, please? So, speaking of which, we should organise a time to do that, because the grey counter, I would like to move that one sooner rather than later, because obviously I don't need that to operate the shop. So that's one that I can move down early on. So at some point we should organise a time for that. Anyway, but yeah, other things, other costs. Most of the expenses are the nasty ones that catch up. I've got to sort out insurance. I've got to sort out the business rates. I've got to sort out the other stuff like water and electric. And there'll be 2 insurances, because I've got to pay my contents insurance, and then I'll also have to pay the landlord for buildings insurance, because even though he's responsible for buildings insurance in a business property, the tenant is expected to pay for that as well, which I don't like, but whatever. Yes. So yeah, there'll be lots of little costs in there. However, thankfully, one of the good things about the new shop having been delayed is it means, like, every time there was a delay on getting the new shop, I was like, this sucks that it was delayed, but every month it's delayed is another month of savings, which means at the moment I am sitting on enough money that whatever I need in the shop, I can just pull out my card and just buy it, which will be nice. Like, there's lots of things that I'm going to be like, oh, that's expensive. However, I will say, but that's what I need. Credit card, So, when I want to get all the counters fitted and the chippy turns around and says that's going to be $2,000, I'll be like, ow, but sure, okay. And when if I've got to get an electrician in to fit the lights and they say that's going to cost this much, I'll be like, ow, but sure, okay. And I will have nice counters and I will have nice lights, So yeah, it's
I think the electrician is going to be expensive, not because of what you want done, but because of undoing everything that has been done in there.
Well, thankfully the place has just had it's just been ratified. Like, they've fitted a new consumer unit and everything.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah. So right now the electrics in there shouldn't be horrifying, and it's also advantageous that one of my best friends is a certified electrician. So if I do need anything hectic done, I will probably just say, hello, do you want to come down and see my new shop? And then when he comes down, and be like, while you're here, so yeah, bring your van. so yeah, the point, there are means and ways. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, and if you want to do, I'm talking about bits here because, the dedicated fans who've come to watch our show can get a few tidbits. If you want to see pictures and videos of stuff, there's now a video of a tour of the new shop up on the Patreon. If you join the Patreon for just $2, you can get sneak previews of everything as it happens. I will actually get a link to it now. I tell you what, I'll link directly to the thing post. There it is. I'll link directly to it in the chat because you've got to be a member to see it. So there we go. There's a direct link to the Patreon. That's the sneak peek of the new shop. So yeah, you can join there and get a download of it. You also get access to the secret chat in the Discord, where I also talk about more stuff and things like that as well. In addition to that, Michael Taylor, thank you very much for the $20 super chat. Much appreciated, my dude. It's all going toward making a newer, bigger, and cooler shop, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with all of you. Eventually, all of it will be public. When it's all done and done, I will make a video, and everyone will see the final result. But if you want to see the process and everything coming together, that's all going to be up on the Discord, on the Patreon. So yeah,
I'm looking forward to sort of you going through and replacing a lot of your camera gear and setup and so on.
that's going to be interesting as well, because I want to make independent videos on lots of things. Like I want to make a video where it's like the video will be building a better camera setup, where I actually go, right, this is what I've got, and this is me researching what I should get, and this is what I've chosen and why, and stuff like that. And as I say, that stuff will be all the exclusive stuff, and then the final video will just be like, I bought this, and I bought this. But if you want to see the process of how I got there, that will be all the exclusive stuff.
Absolutely.
So in addition to that as well, if I'm going to shamelessly shill, I may as well do it properly. If you have Amazon Prime and you don't subscribe to anyone on Twitch, you can also subscribe to my gaming channel on Twitch. And Twitch subscribers also get access to the exclusive content through the secret room on the Discord. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to my Twitch channel free of charge. So I'll link in my Twitch channel as well. That is a way that you can support me and see the exclusive content for free. So I'll just quickly link in my Twitch. Because as I say, if you link your Amazon account to a Twitch account, you get a free sub. So give me your Prime subs. That's Absolutely. It. I'm done shilling. When do you think you'll finish it? Don't know. I want to be working in the shop next month. Like I want to be fixing stuff in the shop next month. However, and you guys may see it at that point, but also I don't want to do the big reveal until. Well, no. I mean, it's gonna take months to get everything done. It's good. Like building the shop is going to be a year-long project, but I want something to show off within a month, 2 months tops.
Yeah.
So basically that. So yes. Right, and good. I think that's everything. Right. Yeah, we're going. That's it.
Good evening.
Good evening to everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for the super chats. Thank you for your continued support. We will be back next Saturday afternoon at the same time. We're going back to these Saturday afternoon slots now.
Absolutely.
Based on the numbers that I've been seeing on the screen as we've been going, this seems to be the best time for everyone. This seems to be where we get the best numbers. So for anyone who is on West Coast Florida, anyone who's in the West Coast of the US who has to get up really early, I'm sorry, you'll have to watch the VOD. And if you've been watching the VOD, good day to you. So yeah.
And on that bombshell,
it's time to end the show. Good night, everyone. Goodbye. I'm going to hit end stream now. Goodbye.
Ciao. Join us on Discord.
Continue the conversation on Discord. Blah, blah, blah.
Ciao.
End.